Thank you. And thanks for being willing to take a look at this as an opportunity for you. Everyone would know by now that we are in troubled economic times, right? There's a global recession going on. Is there anybody that doesn't have a friend or a neighbor or a relative who's either unemployed or underemployed or concerned? So it's no secret that we're in a time of transition. Now, there's a lot of people who will really focus in on what's wrong and on what's not working in the world today economically. And that's important. It's important to understand and acknowledge and recognize that the system is shifting, that the fundamental way that wealth is created is shifting. Speaking of shifting, right? So it's no secret that we're going through a transition time when the old ways of wealth creation have shifted. You know, if you want to take a little trip back in time, and I'm talking way back, like 5,000, 10,000 years ago, wealth was created through the land, wasn't it? Thank you. Wealth was created through and growing something, whether you grew crops or animals. If you had a piece of land, you could live and maybe have a little extra and make something called money and buy something. And that's how humans lived for a long time. But fast forward now 5,000 years to something called the Industrial Revolution. Happened in the 1700s, 1800s. And suddenly the means of creating wealth shifted from the land to this thing called a factory. And suddenly you could create wealth by making something other than growing it, right? But the interesting thing is that during that time, there were winners and losers, weren't there? There were strategies for people to get wealthy, and people got lost. You see, you couldn't go from a farm to running a sophisticated piece of machinery without some sort of retraining or rethinking or repositioning or something, couldn't you? And so the people that could change, they could adopt change, they could embrace change, they could transition, suddenly became wealthy. They had money. They could live in a house. They could take care of a family. And maybe have a little something left over to improve their lot. Fast forward again. Fast forward to the 1950s. Okay, in the 1950s, the means of creating wealth, the way to create wealth shifted yet again. It went from growing things to making things to servicing things. We moved from a manufacturing base into a service economy. And again, the strategies for success in a service economy are fundamentally different than a manufacturing economy. Some people won and some people lost. The people that could adopt and adapt were successful. I want to fast forward again to the 1980s and 1990s, and we moved from a service economy to a knowledge-based economy, didn't we? Where suddenly more people were working with their brains or speaking. They weren't growing things. They weren't making things. They weren't working on things. They were actually, their knowledge became the means of wealth creation. And again, there were winners and losers. You couldn't go from growing things or making things into knowing about things and making a living without some repositioning, reframing, retraining. And I invite you to look again today. Here we are. And is it clear that we're undergoing a fundamental shift in the economy, right? Banks are failing. Businesses are failing. Entire industries are disappearing. New industries are emerging. Countries are in trouble. Governments are in trouble. We're undergoing a big shift. Now, there's a lot of people who will exclaim and point and say, yeah, things are bad, things are bad, things are going downhill. And yeah, you know, the old economy's crumbling. But I'm much more fascinated with what's emerging. How about you? If you have a choice, would you be more interested in what's emerging? And would you like to know some of the strategies for becoming a winner in the new economy? Wouldn't that be helpful? Yeah. Let's take an example. What's a company that didn't even exist 10, 15 years ago Today, the capitalization, the market capitalization of that company is, I think, the largest in the world. Extremely rich company. Makes gazillions of dollars. The owners, who I think are under 30 or 40 years old, are multi-billionaires. And yet, they don't grow things. They don't make things. They don't service things. It's not about knowledge. They actually give away things. They don't make them. They just give them away for free. Anybody got any ideas who the company might be? Facebook, Google, yeah? Now, if you can say that these are truly winners in the new economy, can't we look at some of what they do and on a micro level say, wow, that's a strategy that works. How can I not be Google or Facebook, but how can I use the same technology, the human technology? How can I use the same strategies to make myself prosperous? Okay, well, let's take apart what Google or Facebook or these other companies do. First of all, there's a clue. They give away things. What do they give away? They give away intellectual property, other people's ideas, other people's information, right? And they found a way to monetize that. I mean, I can give away information all day, but unless I get a way to monetize that, it's just giving away information. But they found a way to monetize giving away information for free. That's a good tip. Give away other people's information for free and get rich doing it. Sound like a good job description? Okay. There's a couple of other things we could look at, but let's just look at that for a minute. And let's look at this great industry called network marketing. Now, it is one of the newer industries on the planet. It's not been around 5,000, 10,000 years, yet in its essence, it has. And I'll say more about that in a minute. What do we do as network marketers? Well, we arguably do something, it's the oldest thing that human beings do. So if you have a friend, or I'm your friend, or I have a friend, don't we as friends, don't we share things with our friends, good things? Isn't that part of being a friend, is being good to our friends, right? So if I know that you like Thai food, or you're into health and nutrition, or vitality, and I find a great little restaurant, I would say, hey Mark, I found this great restaurant. I know you like Thai food, check it out. It's down at the corner of 5th and Main. And really cool. I liked it. I told my friend about it. I told Mark about it. If he goes down there and eats and enjoys the meal, that's great. I've helped him out. Now, I haven't truly monetized that, because I could go to that same restaurant and say, hey, did my friend Mark show up? And they said, yeah, he enjoyed the food. You know, I'm still waiting, but they usually don't give me a free dinner for that. I mean, I get a glass of water maybe, or an extra napkin if I ask for it, but I haven't found a way to monetize that. So I'm just doing what friends do, though. But if I also find something that doesn't work for me, let's say I know you like television shows or movies, and I find when I say, hey, don't bother, that's a real loser. That's what friends do, right? We look out for our friends. We share things we like. We tell people about things that don't work. Now let's see how that can be monetized. Let's see, because isn't that in essence what Google does? Doesn't Google say, oh, you want to know how to fix your car? Great. Here's 16,000 million links. And you pick the ones usually on the first page or two. And, that's great. And that's what they do. But let's see how this is monetized. So if I find this restaurant and I tell Mark about it, and I'm still waiting for them to thank me for it even, I'm going to wait a long time probably. But in this industry called network marketing, we do pretty much the same thing, but there is a way to monetize it. And let me share how that works. So I say, hey Mark, I know you're into health and nutrition. I found this great product. It's called Body Balance. I've been using it for a while now. I got more energy, more vitality. I'm performing better. I think I'm looking better. I'm certainly feeling better. And, I think you should try it. And he says, great. How do I get it? I say, well, why don't you get it just like I do? Why don't you buy it direct from the factory? Here's an 800 number. Here's a website. And by the way, tell him I sent you. Tell him I sent you. So Mark calls up, and they answer the phone and say, yeah, what can we do? He says, well, I want to get some Body Balance and, blah, blah, blah. They handle his money. They ship it to him. They do all that. And they say, by the way, we are a referral business. Who sent you? And he says, well, Michael Jude sent me. I say, great, thanks. Your stuff will be there shortly. Mark gets his product. He likes it. And I feel good. I feel really good because I've done what good friends do for each other, haven't I? I found something good, and I shared it with him. And that's what friends do. But I feel even better in another way because about a week later, I get this thank you check from the company. The company says, you know what, we didn't have to advertise. We didn't have to put it in a store and hope somebody walks in and buys it. There's no shrinkage or spoilage or none of that middleman stuff. All that stuff's gone, and we're going to actually say thank you for doing that piece of work, and we're going to share some of that money with you that we would have had to spend. And I go, wow, this is really good. I'm helping a friend out. I feel good about it, and I'm getting these checks. Pretty cool. Now, I don't see Mark for a couple of months, but he really likes Body Balance. And next month, when that bottle's empty, he calls up and says, hey, this stuff's good. Send me some more. And they do. But then the company says, well, Michael Jude, you know, again, we didn't have to advertise. We didn't have to do all this stuff in the middle. Here's another thank you check. And I may not be the sharpest guy in the world, but after a couple of months of these, I'm getting the feeling, wow, this is pretty cool. Because Mark's using it. He likes it. The first time he used it because of my recommendation. But the second time and the third time, he used it because he likes it. He sees value here for himself. And now let me see here. If he keeps buying it for a long time, I guess I'm going to be getting these thank you checks for a long time. This is pretty interesting. Because I was at a meeting last week, you know, and this woman had this thing clear up that she'd had for 20 years. And she said, this product is so good, I will take it the rest of my life. And I'll bet her friend felt good when she said, I'll take it the rest of my life. That's a really good contribution to a friend. But you know, as a business person, you know what I hear too? If Mark stands up and says, I'll take this the rest of my life because I have better energy, I'm losing weight, I'm performing better, I am looking better, and I'm feeling good, then I've got an income the rest of his life. I've got an income the rest of his life. And, you know, hopefully he will live a long time because he's going to be healthier, right? He's got this Body Balance thing going. But it gets even better. It gets even better because Mark's going to do what good friends do. He's going to turn around and share it with Lois. And the company's going to say, yep, Lois, we'll ship it to you. That's fine. And by the way, who sent you? And Mark sent me. Okay, great. It'll be there in a couple days. Mark gets a thank you check from the company because they didn't have to do all the advertising and all that middleman stuff. And the company sends me a thank you check for Lois's order. Now, I don't necessarily know Lois, but now I'm getting really excited. Really excited because guess what? I have an income the rest of Lois's life. And if Lois shares it with Bernadette, who shares it with Bill, who shares it with Samuel, suddenly I've got an income the rest of their lives. And suddenly, because I don't necessarily know these people, or know them well even, I've got a network of people that could literally go around the globe. I've got a virtual distribution network. And I'm taking full advantage of the new economic wealth creation dynamic. I have adopted the exact strategy that is going to produce winners in this new economy. I'm taking full advantage of the new technologies. I'm taking full advantage of the new virtual distribution models. And I'm creating an ongoing, lifetime, intergenerational income that not only will last for Mark's life and Bernadette and Joan and all their lives, but it will actually go beyond my life. It will go beyond my life. And I say that because even when I pass on, Life Force will keep sending the checks to my estate. So suddenly my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and on and on and on have the benefit of me creating an economic machine that spins out cash. So if you're not excited at this point, I'm going to invite you to take a look at your children and your grandchildren or your charities or your community and think what an impact you can have. You see, Krista and I have been with Life Force for almost 15 years now, and we've made millions and millions and millions of dollars with virtually no overhead. You want to see, you want a sense of the overhead I have? Here it is. I got to pay my phone bill. That's the only overhead I have. You see, we have a sense that because we've been paid, paid consistently for going on 15 years, month after month, never missed a check, never late, that we can pretty well expect we'll have another 15 years of income. Do you see that? Because people like Mark are going to continue to use Body Balance the rest of their lives. And what that means for us is freedom. It means freedom. It means the ultimate in lifestyle and economic freedom. Suddenly, when I got this, and I got that our future is secure, we can now make different lifestyle and economic and life choices that we couldn't make before. How many of you, or you know somebody whose choices in life are largely dictated by the lack of money? The lack of money. What you eat, where you travel, how you travel, where you live, how you live, what your children's futures look like, how much you get to contribute to causes or charities, what you do for work, who you work with, how much of your life is a circle that's, it's scribed. These are the choices you are allowed to make because of the lack of money. And how restrictive that is, how contracted that is. When we talked about a piece of land being the source of wealth, or a factory being a source of wealth, or a service economy or knowledge economy, they have their restrictions too, don't they? But what I see is a march to freedom. A lot of people left the farms not because, it wasn't rewarding work, but because of the restrictions once they saw the wealth that was created from a wage or factory. And people left that manufacturing to move to service because of the freedom. And they moved to knowledge-based economy because of the freedom. And now they're into the virtual economy, the virtual distribution networked economy, because of the freedom it allows. Do you see, when I hold up a phone and say, this is my overhead, do you understand I can live anywhere in the world where I can get cell reception? Anywhere in the world. That's freedom. That's location freedom. What about time freedom? How many of you feel time poor? I know lots of people make lots of money, but they're time poor. They don't have time for their children. They don't have time for themselves, their spouse, their health, personal development, if that's what they want. They're time poor. And, it's sad to be financially poor, but it's even, in a way, sadder to be time poor, because I figure I can always make more money, but I can't make more time. Although we're working on that. And I want to give you a clue. I believe I am now abundant in time, more abundant now that I have the financial part handled. Do you get that? How about freedom to do something that gives you meaning in your life? How about doing work that you love so it no longer shows up as work, it just shows up as passion? How appealing is that? Do you like having friends? Do you like being in relationship with people, rewarding friends? Yeah. Wouldn't it be great to have profound relationships, deeper, richer, where we contribute to each other in ways that weren't even possible before? because of the nature of what we do for a living. Because our work now is not going to a factory or, working on the farm. You can do that if you want. But our work becomes developing profound relationships based in trust, respect, contribution, and mutuality. How's that for a job description? Making a difference in each other's lives. So if any of this sounds interesting, if any of this sounds like, I don't have a plan B. I see things crumbling around me. I see the economy failing. I see that the old model of go to school, get a job, and they'll retire you for your golden years. I see that's not a realistic option for me. I see that people who have invested heavily in a traditional, perhaps education or training program or a career, are now suddenly looking at, what, if I get laid off from this job, I'll never work in this industry again. I see people who are losing hope that their children can have it better than they had. I see people that are not able to be with their families when they're needed the most. See people that are not able to be with their aging parents and provide that measure of respect and dignity that they so deserve. So if you hear something here for yourself, I hope you'll join me in what I consider to be a very noble cause. This is work worth doing, because we're not only offering economic freedom and location freedom and time freedom and freedom to do work that we choose to do, work with who we want, when we want, but we're also doing the noble work of fundamentally transforming the way that human beings create wealth. And I'm talking about the true wealth. They say if you measure a person's wealth by the amount of money they have, you're missing the biggest part of their wealth. Yes, money's important. But isn't it more important to have meaning in life? Meaningful work, meaningful relationships, meaningful ways to contribute. And that's what we offer. That's what we're up to here. And that's what we hope you'll join us in. We hope that something's resonating with you and you see, this is a plan B for me. This is a way out. Because I can wait around and I can watch all these things crumble and then, who knows, maybe I'm next. Maybe when this thing goes full circle, my career, my chosen career or my job will no longer be here. And I may be a victim or a loser in this new economy. I may not have had the correct strategy for being a winner in this new economic paradigm. But I want to share with you right now that you are being offered what I consider a lifetime chance. A chance to develop something with meaning, something with dignity, something that actually makes a difference in the world. And that you can have it all. You can have the freedom that's your birthright, the freedom that will allow you to blossom, allow you to make this life be all it can be. And the beautiful thing about this, I'm sure many of you, or perhaps all of you, are smart enough to have figured this out sooner or later. And you could figure out a strategy to take care of yourself and your family. I'm pretty sure that, this is a room full of winners. But how many of you would be happy to be the only one that makes it? For how many of you does it resonate that I'm not in this alone. That's not what this is about. This is about me and my community, me and my family. This is about us rising up. This is about us empowering ourselves and each other. About creating something worthwhile, something that will live beyond us. And, you know, it's funny because Krista and I make extraordinary income with this. And we could have, quote unquote, retired, which is an industrial concept. We could have retired years ago. But we're not interested in retiring. Why would I retire from love? Why would I retire from something I love doing? Why would I retire from my friends? That doesn't make any sense in the new paradigm. My commitment is to be here with you, to help you get freedom, to help you become prosperous, to help you have the things you want in life, both out of compassion for you, but out of self-interest, because I don't want to be the only free one in the room. That's no fun. You see? I don't want to be the only rich one. Who am I going to party with? So we're sticking around. We're sticking around so we can help our friends enjoy the things that they want in life and have the opportunity to contribute and have the opportunity to have their true security for themselves and their family, to know that they're on the right side of this huge economic shift, huge shift in how human beings create wealth, how we create community, and what that's all about. So that's our commitment to you. Now, I want to ask you to look for yourself. What's up for you? Where are you in this? And what kind of commitment are you prepared to make for yourself, for your family, for your community? And if you get a sense that this is your plan B and upgrading it real quick to plan A, that this is the way you want to go, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to look at making a commitment to your business, to create this business for yourself. And what it's going to take is about $10,000 to $15,000 a year to do this. And here's what that looks like. Now, I'm not going to ask you to write me a check for $10,000 or $15,000, because even if you did, I don't want it, and I don't have any way to process that. That's not what this is about. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to invest about $1,000 a month into your business for the next year. And this is what it looks like. First of all, I'm going to recommend you go on AutoShip for the Dream Kit, which is a package, about $500 package, that gives you enough professional samples to sample about 100 people a month. It's about 3 people a day. Okay? I'm also going to ask you to invest anywhere from $300 to $500 a month into your business for travel and training. And what that looks like is for you to come to these Dream Academies on a regular basis and to bring 2 to 3 people with you, 2 to 3 guests with you to this event. Now, whether you pay for them or they pay for them, that's between you and them. But I would recommend you show up here every single time with 2 to 3 qualified guests and then have them do the same thing. You know what's really cool about that? You're leveraging an enormous amount of energy. Your guests, or you, don't have to be great trainers. You don't have to be presenters. You don't have to be personal development coaches. You don't have to be instructors. You don't have to be organizers. You don't have to do any of that. All that's handled for you. All you have to do is show up here with your guests. That's it. You get good at that, and you could potentially make $10,000 or $15,000 a month for the rest of your life and beyond, into your children's and your grandchildren's, and potentially 50, 100, 200 or more years into the future, create an income stream that is on the right side, using the technology and using these fundamental economic trends. So I want you to consider that. And I want you to know that it's my pleasure to offer this to you, and thank you.